So, revolutionary greetings, comrades, once more. Of course, welcome to our Saturday classes, Thursday classes, which is actually the consciousness philosophy reading and discussion. We do the reading of this book, which is Consciousness Study Book. And this Consciousness is a book that was written by Kwame Nkrumah. Not only a book, he actually put into place his philosophical and ideological thinking, which he actually considers to be the Pan-African philosophy and ideology that can help to decolonize Africa. And when we talk of decolonization of Africa, Nkrumah actually had three main agenda, which is the total liberation of Africa. When you talk of total liberation of Africa, it means a free Africa that do not have any influence or any actually detachment or dependence from the West. When you talk of total unification of Africa, he envisioned an Africa of one government, one continental government, one people, not these colonial borders. And the development of Africa is actually the development of material resources in Africa for the African welfare, which means the supreme law of this is the welfare of the people. So how do you use our resources in order to develop Africa? And we'll be checking this as we move along with other chapters. So far, Nkrumah introduced us to what he called the colonial students. And in this colonial student, in the first part of the introduction, he gave us three categories of the colonial student. He described them during that time, those who are either their parents were chiefs or chiefdoms who had the privilege to get into colonial schools. While he talks of also the third category where he said there were people who went to education or went to school for the purpose of gaining education for the liberation, which means for the emancipation. So this is actually the concept that we actually come up or led to what we call the categories of Pan-Africans. And he actually gave them three categories. He called one the liberals, another one the conservatives, and where the third one belongs, where he said he belonged to, he called them the progressive Pan-Africans. So this is where we have the progressive Pan-African, the conservative Pan-African, and liberal Pan-Africans. From there, we actually went to chapter 1 of this book, where we are now almost ending today. The text on my screen is the last page of chapter 1. And here we've been here for the last 4 months, actually analyzing page by page to actually start the question where Nkrumah introduced us to what he called the origin of the universe. And in the origin of the universe, he takes us two main aspects and two main questions. First question is, what is the universe made up of? And the answers have been, the universe is made up of matter, and others say the universe is made up of spirits. While consciousness assumes the position that the universe is made up of both, but the primary source or the primary raw material of the universe is matter. And either you talk of spirits or anything else can be derived from matter. So it doesn't actually deny existence of any other form of matter. And it considers other ideas and anything else to be other forms of matter. But the primary reality of the primary reality of the raw material, the cosmic raw material that makes up the universe is matter. And then through other categorical conversion, we can derive so many other alternatives or so many other sources of matter. But there are people who are hardcore idealists who believe that the universe is made up of spirit. As only spirit, matter do not exist. And they actually suffer what Nkrumah say in solipsism and sapient solipsism, where they believe that the universe made up, that they are made up of ideas and spirit, and they can't assume the physical body or the physical existence of anything else. And these are people who become more conservative. They are so selfish. We've gone there in that discussion. We've looked at the cosmic raw material. We've looked at inside-outside thesis. We've looked at what you call abstract and concrete reality, or abstract and concrete things. We've gone an extra mile to look at deism, pantheism, and theism. We've looked at all that. We've gone an extra mile to look at now where we are. We are now where we're discussing actually we have done with the idealism, so we are discussing the philosophical materialism. We've looked at the conceptual tools, the logical tools, where we're discussing the constructionism, reductionism, nominalism, and we look at the scientific aspect. We have analyzed idealism, and we realize that idealism suffer from one thing. They do not have any scientific backing, and when you ask them, they'll say, I am, therefore. When you ask them, they say they exist because I am, therefore I exist. So when we actually analyze even the statement of I am, who is I here in this statement? So it's actually an ideology that is not complete on itself. It has some weaknesses. But then go now to the aspect of materialism. We talk of two main factors I've seen. the constructionism. How do you envision something? How do you construct maybe a united Africa out of where we are? How can you reduce an object into its small pieces? How can you actually talk on the realities? And in this aspect, as you look of everything else in existence, you must factor in science. And science is what gives us the ability of other states of matter to transform. For example, from solid to liquid to vapor, there must be scientific explanation to that. But the idealists do not actually appreciate scientific explanation. The empirical and rationalism is something that they not fully appreciate. So we are now to the end of the class, and we've been discussing recently also the theory of relativity. And last class we were having mechanism of sensation. So this is a continuation of the class, and we are actually coming towards, as I've said, the end of the first chapter. And our key question will be, as we make it to the end, we must answer the question, what's the universe made up of? And how what the universe is made up of? How is that the universe is made up of came to be? And I hope as we end this chapter today, we'll be able to arrive at that. So thank you very much, and welcome to all comrades who have joined us today. We will go straight, as our normal traditions is that we read a paragraph and we explain or discuss this. But always we do have, because this section has been more of a physics question, we have a lot of physics explanations that are coming in. And as usual, I will ask Carrington to actually give a recap of the previous class in regards to the physical or physics terms that have been used here. Then now we can move to this chapter. So the chapter of the page of our reading today is from the paragraph starting, "It is further said," and then maybe we'll move to what you call "and yet." Then probably, if time allows, we'll finish the last sentence, which is saying our universe is a natural universe, and its basis is matter with its objective laws. So just to recap a bit on where we ended, let me just move to the paragraph above. So, Brother Carrington, if you are possibly around, kindly just do a summation of these two paragraphs that we discussed last time, the mechanism of sensation and this skepticism. Then we can now proceed to our reading for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Pigeon. First, I would like to start by introducing one of us here who is a guest, but I hope she stops being a guest. She keeps on coming and stops being a guest. She is called Sally. She's from Kenya. She's a nuclear physicist, so one step above what I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe she can introduce herself a little bit, and then we'll continue. Yes, Sally, to you.
Karibu sana, Sally. We welcome the physicists because this is a philosophy, so sometimes might be very hard for us. But feel most welcome, Sally.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Sally. I'm a nuclear physicist doing my PhD, and I'm glad to be here. I just want to hear what your discussion is about. I just hope I'll be able to contribute as much as I can as I hear your views on philosophy as well. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate your presence, comrade. You actually gain knowledge for purpose of emancipation and liberation, which was the third categories of students, the progressive Pan-Africans, where knowledge is not used for class certification. You don't gain the knowledge to be boasting around that I am now a doctor for myself, but you use your knowledge in order to help emancipate and liberate Africa. And we appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Brother Carrington?
So we'll proceed with reading the last two paragraphs and then do a bit of a discussion on it and then possibly move on to the next paragraph, which is the main subject of our matter today. The mechanism of sensation, too, has sometimes been brandished in the face of philosophical materialism. This is, in fact, a species of skepticism. Sensation, it is said, is our primary avenue to knowledge. Mankind, it is alleged, has no road to knowledge save the highway of sensation. But sensation does not give us any direct knowledge of matter, hence there is no reason to suppose that there is any such thing as matter. I believe that this adumbrated skepticism turns in upon itself. It is not possible to use the physics of perception to impugn the reality and independence of the external world, for the physics of perception itself presupposes and relies upon the reality and independence of an external world. It is only through some occult reasoning that physics can be used to locate the external world inside our mind. Thank you.
Yeah, can you give a recap of your understanding on this?
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, we discussed this a little bit extensively last week. Kwame here, the Osajefo here is talking about how we come to gain knowledge of the external world inside our brains. We do this primarily through sensation. You've went and touched a hot stove, it has burnt you. This is information that has moved from the tip of your fingers to your brain. But nonetheless, your brain has not been burnt. It has not experienced heat. It has experienced something other than heat. And somehow it is able to interpret this as heat. And therefore, you withdraw your hand from the hot stove. Some skeptics, some skeptical philosophers, think that because of this, because fundamentally the brain does not experience physical reality, only your body does, they use this to conclude that there can be no direct knowledge of matter, i.e., without your body, you cannot prove that matter essentially exists. And since materialism is based on the idea that everything in the universe is constructed out of physical matter and its forms and its patterns, if you cannot conclude that matter exists, you cannot conclude that materialism is correct. So it's taken as a challenge to materialism that we use our senses to understand the external world. Now, the second paragraph is the Osajefo's response to this skepticism. He is turning the logic upon itself. So that's why he's saying it turns upon itself. He says, well, what are the processes, since we understand them very, very well, in fact, what are the processes that have led to the brain interpreting you placing your hand on the hot stove as heat, as dangerous heat, damaging heat, at least damaging to your skin? These are physical processes. The brain, the heat from the stove, the fire from the stove, burnt your senses. Your senses quickly relayed electrical messages to the brain, and the brain was able to interpret these electrical messages as danger, and you withdrew your hand, which again was a physical process. So he's saying that the idealists, the specific idealists in this school of thought, are depending on a physical process, something that is essentially a physical process, to explain away materialism. But materialism is based on the idea that physical processes are essentially categorical conversions, that physical processes are processes which convert one form of matter to another. And in this case, heat is converted to electricity, the electricity of danger to the brain. And therefore, Kwame is arguing in this position that you cannot use physical processes to explain away the existence of matter. If you did this, you would conclude that the entire universe is somehow inside the brain inside your brain, and that there is no other external reality other than the reality inside your mind, because your mind is all that there is. And Brother Kwame concluded that this is in fact solipsism in another form. The idea that the universe is in your mind and everything that you see is a product of processes in your mind. This is another form of solipsism. And therefore, again, we are faced with another challenge, serious challenge, to idealism. Remember that the first paragraph posed this as a serious challenge to materialism. So the Osagyefo has turned the plate around, and actually it ends up being a serious challenge to idealism. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that explanation. So basically, you want to say that the idealists believe that even that person's, as example reviews, touching some stove and the heat then transmit in your body, they assume that even that heat or that effect was just mental. It's just a perception. It's not a reality that is either came from outside or whether there was a physical aspect. As you're saying that, you see, from materialism is that there's a conversion, which is categorical conversion from the pain you get from whatever the stove you've touched to transmitting it either through the what you call now the scientific processes, where the nerves then send the message to the brain. So other idealists believe that there's not actually any message that came from external. All these things was in the mind, it's a perception.
I think idealists are much more sophisticated than that. So, of course, idealists, let me say, most reasonable idealists, unless those who have fallen to solipsism, they appreciate that there is a physical universe. But what Osagyefo here is doing is saying, idealists will use the idea of sensation to challenge that the universe is completely physical, that there is some sense in which the universe has to be beyond physical somehow. But Kwame is saying for the idealists to use this as a challenge, they will have to concede that everything, because this is the logical implication of what they're talking about, that not just some things are physical and some things are not physical. Everything is not physical. Everything is a story going on inside the brain of the perceiver. And Kwame is saying this challenge, therefore, falls on that basis. This very specific challenge falls on the basis of this, what is it called? Proof by contradiction. Yes.
Thank you. In Kenya, you could say their stories are Jaba. Anyway, let's proceed to now our reading for today. Pichu, Pichu Bule.
Yes, greetings, family. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is a very, very interesting subject, to actually, elaborate upon. And I appreciate the humility and the honesty of being lifelong learner and true students, and not necessarily focusing on our perspectives, And so what I suggest is, because, what you call arts and sciences, especially, quantum mechanism, it's not necessarily about what you think or what you may think that you know, but it is about what let's say the world, the experts so far know about quantum mechanism to date. And I insist about to date. The reason I'm saying that is because, Kwame Nkrumah, when he wrote this book, or when his time, his generation was in the 50s, in the 60s. All right. And that's like 60 years ago. And 60 years in science, evolution is, especially now, it's a very, 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 let's say, it's a long time, not to exaggerate, but it's a long time, meaning there has been new discoveries and new enlightenment, new, what I like to say, understanding and overstanding of our universe and the universes and the art, let's say, of quantum mechanism. So saying that, I suggest, that if you guys are happy, so that I'm not going to be too long, that I can put some links if you like on a message, on the chat, or if we do some research, or let's say comparison on what is dark matter and what is dark energy. And then we can compare the two and have maybe a better understanding and understanding of the subject of today, what we are talking about. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You are permitted to share the link on our chat box, but equally, I'll be asking whether on the spiritual realm, for those who believe, especially idealists, on spirituality and ideas, have spirituality transformed over the last 2,000 years that it came in, either as a religion or those other aspects? Has it transformed? Or to spirituality, time doesn't change anything? And also the other aspect will be the discoveries, of course, of the past make sense, like the instant discovery on the light and the rest. Has that really been challenged and changed? Or is the same thinking that people are using behind to produce whatever is real today? Because those are key challenges that we need to discuss, but it's not for today. These are the questions to think about as we try to bring the aspect of physics here compared to the aspect of spirits or spirituologists. We still believe that spirituology or the spirits or even the gospel as it was sent by either those who sent it over 2,000 years ago, people still maintain that it's the same. And the message is the same. It has never changed. They have never transformed it differently. But physics, as you've said, yes, it takes into different forms. But the basis of physics, I don't think changes. Just the ideas and the explanation and the process change. But anyway, I'm not a physicist. The physicians are here to speak to themselves. And I believe you're also part of either a physician by your contribution or you have something knowledge in terms of physics. But it's not a discussion of physics and religion and the rest, but rather the context today. So I still think that beyond this, the question is what's its relevance to our current state as Africa or as a people? How relevant is this process to us? How relevant is the text towards us as a people? Or it's no longer relevant to us. It's so irrelevant based on the time, as you say, 60 years ago. So therefore, the knowledge or the thinking or the idea being brought here might not be relevant to us today. And those are also questions we need to ask ourselves as we engage in this. It's not a debate of two sides. It's just a group for sharing thinking and building our understanding together. So it's not a one-side conversation, neither is it a tie or a war between the two sides. So thank you for that. Okay, let's move to a continuation of that discussion, because as you've said, these pages continue to the next chapter. So let's get to the chapter of today and we continue the conversation. Let's move along. Once we're done with this chapter, we read this first chapter on my screen. I'll go around and ask members who are present here to share their thinking. How do they understand this? So let me see who can do this. Sister Myra, are you in a position to help us read the chapter, the first paragraph in this screen?
Yeah.
Kelly, proceed.
It is further said that not all the processes in the physiology of perception are physical. It is said, by way of expansion, that if light did not strike the eye, an image form on the retina, etc., we could not see. But the traveling of light and the forming of an image on the retina could not either singly or collectively be the inwardness of that illumination which is seeing. The processes are accounted to be so far from explaining perception that they deepen the mystery.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So as I've said, we'll have to seek your understanding on this and further explanation on what do you understand with this. And probably I'll start with our new physicist in the room. If she can be able to explain to us basically what is our understanding on what this paragraph is talking about. You are free to read only that one paragraph deeply and maybe form your thinking on what do you think this is saying or whether the statement being said is making sense and how can you expand it further. Sister Sally, just take your time to read it. If you need some time, just let me know so that I can pass and then you come back to you.
Yes, please, 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. But find time to go through it.
Okay.
Let me go to the next person here. Let me go to Brother Patrick. Are you able to share something in regards to that paragraph?
Learning, listening, learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Michael. Brother Michael? Michael 5X. Okay.
Brother Pigeon, just to let you know that, Comrade Pigeon, sorry, just to let you know that I have shared some, things on the chat. Just so.
Thank you. Let me check them. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, this is Brother Michael 5X. Sorry, I couldn't get my
Thank you.
my mute off. Okay. Yeah, can you come back to me? Because I'm just reading it now again. right? And I'm just reflecting. So I've got some thoughts on it. But if you come back to me, I just want to clarify certain things. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And let me go to Brother Coco. Oh, Brother Coco has left. Let me check. Brother Coco?
Pardon? What was your second part?
No, it's the first paragraph on the screen, which is, if it is further said that not all the processes in the physiology of perception are physical, it is said by way of expansion that if light did not strike the eye, an image form on the retina, etc., we could not see. But the traveling of light and the forming of an image on the retina could not either singly or collectively be the inwardness of that illumination, which is seeing. These processes are accounted to be so far from explaining perception that they deepen the mystery.
So again, we are continuing the criticism of materialism by using perception. And in this case, critics of materialism will say, how did you take whatever was physical outside and then bring it inside, except through just light being reflected, which is not what we learned earlier about the derivatives, so deriving different shapes and forms from matter. So this is another argument continuing that criticism of materialism, to say materialism doesn't stand all the time. Take in the case of light, or in the case of seeing things, you see them by the light hitting those things, and then that light being transferred to the retina and then into your memory, or into your brain, to become the shape that you see within yourself. So is that again continued, but I cannot continue to say that is right or that is wrong, because I think that is covered in the next paragraph. But the idea there is, again, a bit of subtlety there to say, you're all saying there's a categorical conversion here. So what material is being converted from the light which we see outside to becoming the shapes which we see inside? But with the example that Brother Carrington gave of touching the fire, this is another example of physics happening. But as I said, it's another criticism of historical or dialectical materialism, which is a theory on which our decolonial philosophy is based on.
Okay, thank you. Based on the explanation and the limitation of the paragraph in the next paragraph, I feel that let me read the next paragraph so that we tie a complete conversation on this, because it will be a hanging conversation. So let me read the second paragraph, but we allow members to give their contribution either on the first paragraph, and if you can tie it to the second paragraph. The second paragraph is that the first paragraph ends by saying that these processes are accounted to be so far from explaining perception that they deepen the mystery. And yet, to a certain extent, all this must be deemed to be correct. When it is made a basis for idealism, however, then an indulgence in fallacies occur. We know that in normal physiological and physical conditions, we cannot choose whether to see or not. If spirits or consciousness were completely independent of matter, for its arising, there should be the possibility of such breakdown in perception as are not completely explicable in terms of physiology and physics. The doctor, one supposes, will then need to be aided occasionally by the priest, as indeed was supposed to be the case in the dark ages of knowledge. So that's a complete combination of the second paragraph tied with the first paragraph. So I'll go along to ask members to share their thinking as well in both paragraphs, or even measure your thinking in any paragraph you feel you can share your thinking on. So let me get to who is ready here. Brother Joseph. Brother
just to finish, yes.
Okay.
So that part there, the last sentence actually ties it in to say materialism is that important. And it's not only about idealism or spiritualism. Because if that were the case, then the doctor will probably always need a priest by his side whenever he was doing diagnosis or doing anything. So in a way, he is turning around to defend the light hitting the retina and then being transferred into being categorically converted into image within us, to say materialism still persists even in that case. Otherwise, then we will have only to depend on idealism, which is akin to saying the priest has to be there in everything that we do, because then materialism doesn't work. Or the art, the science, the stuff which we can touch, which we can see, which we can feel, we cannot interpret them without the help of idealists or spiritualists or, priests. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let me get to
Comrade Pigeon, sorry, this is Pichu here. Is it possible if you can read my messages, please? And, starting from the first one, there's 3 of them, quite short ones. I think that will clarify.
I've said we will not engage on the physical argument of what physics and dark matter come in. Unless you want to contribute to it by giving you a chance to speak, then I'll allow you to speak on it.
No, I think if you read them, that could be my speech, because I think that will explain what I'm trying to say. That's what I mean.
If you have something to say, just feel free to say it without us reading it.
So maybe let me read it. Let me read them then. I'll be quick, if you don't mind. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. So my first one was dark matter makes up most of the mass of galaxies and galaxy clusters, and is responsible for the way galaxies are organized on grand scales. Dark energy, meanwhile, is the name we give the mysterious influence driving the accelerated expansion of the universe. In short, dark matter slows down the expansion of the universe, while dark energy speeds it up. Dark matter works like an attractive force, a kind of cosmic cement that holds our universe together. This is because dark matter does interact with gravity, but it does not reflect, absorb, or emit light. Yes, you can have energy without matter. In empty space, matter is defined by the Pauli exclusion principle, which states that 2 particles of matter cannot exist in the same quantum state. There is no reason that these non-matter particles cannot exist without matter particles existing. Thank you.
Allow the physicist who was ready to speak to this text, and probably also if she has to react to whatever you've said. Sally?
All right. Okay. I don't know where to start. Let me start by saying, I think, so what they're calling the dark ages, there was subjective idealism and objective idealism. And of course, in the case of subjective idealism, like idealists like Berkeley was a philosopher, held that the reality exists only in the mind or perceptions of individual subjects, aside from the physical. And of course, the objective was, it was the universal or absolute mind that encompassed and transcended consciousness. So some philosophers maintain that of course, at this time, the philosophers of those ages, some of them endeavored to maintain that to actually perceive physical objects, which were independent from us, they admitted that though the objects were independent, we could perceive in part, so by touch or by other senses. So essentially, partly we could perceive, but not in full. So basically, the object falls into two parts here: the part that is actually perceived and the part that cannot be perceived. And then so far, the part that is actually perceived, the view was maintained that we perceive it more or less as it is. And the presumption was that the object lying out there in space is waiting to be revealed. So essentially, one of the views was we are just sort of discovering what is already there. However, there was this other extreme sort of idea or philosophy where we are actually creating. So some of them said, and this is where sciences and arts are coming from, they said what is being discovered, what is actually there in the universe, so we've touched and we've seen in part, essentially is discovered from what is actually there, the reality. So, but the other extreme was we are creating. So essentially it's all in the mind. So essentially someone would ask, we cannot perceive what is not there. So therefore, how about hallucinations, for example, or say some drunkard person who sees something that is not there, maybe a double vision of something. However, because of the growth of, I'd say, science and what they're calling physiology, I believe will be biology or maybe neuroscience, we've come to realize that this is not necessarily the case, because from a biological perspective, we approach consciousness something different. So essentially, perception is coming from a place in the brain that is a function of the brain and the nervous system. It brings or emergent from that is consciousness. So consciousness is defined in terms of the awareness of something that exists, or cognition, or now what is perception, the ability to experience those states using sensations or thoughts. So for a biologist, for example, or a doctor in this case, in this scenario, they're saying the biologist would think of it as how the neural networks in the brain correlate to consciousness. They think of how the nervous system is affected by various sensations. For example, you feel something from the outside and it affects your nervous systems all the way to the brain. And then your brain conceives or perceives this as a danger or reacts to it. And for a biologist, they are able to treat illnesses this way. They are able to basically measure all these sensations, and they're able to treat the physical body from what is happening in the mind, essentially. So they don't think of it as spiritual per se, but something that is emergent from the neural networks of the brain. So from even, which is essentially just matter in itself. So for a physicist, he may approach consciousness from the understanding of the fundamental nature of reality. However, it's a bit complex, especially in the human brain, but essentially a mix of quantum mechanics and a biologist's perspective of the same would essentially give the physicist a way to explain perception. So essentially, they are not distinct. What is real and what is perceived is not distinct, but it's all sort of a biological system, from the physical to the brain, and the brain interpreting this, or what they are calling light being perceived by the eye. So being interpreted by the brain, and therefore brings a reality or a perception of reality. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, sister, for that. Let me go to, I see Brother Michael X hand is up. So let me go to Michael X, and I'll go to Sister Mayra from also her professional background a bit on things close to biology and medicine to share something also psychology. Brother Michael?
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about the Dark Ages, we're talking about the Dark Ages in Europe. Okay. The Renaissance is when the Moors from Africa came in and brought light. So when they brought, they, their perception of things was so, we can't fathom it now, but we were so more advanced than them, right? They took Moors coming in from Africa to bring light to them, right? So when those Moors came in, they wasn't coming with Western philosophies. They were coming with, and Western philosophies come from Africa, from the Africans, right? But because they just didn't understand it, right? And they were limited in their superstition, okay? So the sun is 93 million miles from the earth. For the light of the sun to strike the earth, it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds, right? The earth is spinning on its own axis at over 1,000 miles an hour, okay? Everything and all the other planets do exactly the same, right? And it's only the light of the sun causes the planet to rotate, right? So everything in this universe is order, everything, right? We could say the human beings are the ones who are not in order with their true selves due to what's been happening or what's happened to us as a race. And, it's affected them as well. So, when we talk about spiritual, for me, it's not religion, right? Spiritual is our higher selves, right? Our very high self. And if we can tune into our spiritual self, we create, epigenetics, right? Where we can change our genetics just by the way we think. We all know about the placebo, right? When they do tests, right? And those placebo effect work because the patient believes it's going to work. It's a sugar pill, right? But because that person believes, the doctor said to him, if you take this pill, this is going to heal you. And I'm not saying in every single case, but in most cases, the placebo is to persuade, right? So that person's been persuaded that this pill is going to work. That person now believes it. Automatically, because imagine if it's worked, what's happened? It's not the sugar pill that's made him better. Is this perception that it's going to work? So he's given a command to his body to now producing the immune system to fight off wherever it is. That's how powerful we are as human beings, right? In a world where especially in the West, we're going to give you a poison for free, and then we're going to sell you the antidote. And that's how they operate, right? In this world, through medicines, even in Western food, especially in America. When we have to think on our higher self. That's how powerful we are. We have the power to heal ourselves. we have the power to control, you know, if you think of the phone, well, someone had to visualize that. Someone had to visualize this phone, that you can talk to something without wires and you can be able to transmit, even look at each other. So in someone's mind, they perceived that. And they didn't stop there. They went on to and make it happen. In the teachings of the Nation of Islam, we're taught that, we had the power of telepathy. So if I wanted to speak to my brother, say brother Coco, all I have to do is think about him, and he will know that I'm thinking about him, and he would answer the call, just like how we would make a call, right? We have fallen so far from our powers, or been put to sleep from our powers that we once had, right? The power that I could think of my brother or my sister, and she will know that I'm calling her, and she will connect to me, right, and answer me on a spiritual level, and have a conversation, like how I'm having a conversation on the phone, So in this physical, it's order. Everything, gravity. You can't see gravity, but we know it exists, right? So there's things that we can't see, but we accept that they exist. We accept that gravity exists. If you want to prove it, just step out off a 10th floor building and see, and you will soon find out what gravity is. Oxygen, air that we breathe in, we can't see that, but we know it exists because we're all alive, right? So we've got the unseen power of this universe, and then we've got the seen power of this universe. Why does it rain? Where does the rain come from? We can say it comes from the sky, but how does it get in the sky? God makes it happen. Well, if we've brought up on believing that, God makes it happen, but there is a process that happens. Why we have rain, right? Why we have the seasons, right? What is physically happening? Where does the water come from? It comes from the sky. How does it get in the sky? It comes down from heaven. But how? There's a gravitational ring around around the planet that nothing can enter it. It has to come through a rain of fire, 6 miles high. So the rain doesn't come from space. Where does the rain come from? Right? And so we've got a planet that's producing. So the rain comes from the sea, gets evaporated up, and then when it gathers in the clouds and forms, and it gets heavier than gravitation, it comes and it comes down as rain, right? So the simple things we have to study and understand. Why does that happen, right? What makes that happen? What makes us tick? And it is the study of ourselves, because the answer is in ourselves, in studying ourselves. I'm talking on a, maybe slightly off, but for me, it's relevant when we're trying to understand, especially 2024, when there's so much happening in this world, and our understanding of the universe, how things work, why they work, right? It's so important, because there is an order. There's no accidents. There's no accidents. It's all by design. It's all orchestrated, and we're more powerful than what we think. And I'm taking out religion. I'm talking about spiritual beings, right? How we connect to one another, how we connect to the universe, how we connect in the order of things, of making things happen. Because if a placebo, someone can tell us that placebo can make us ill, make us better, and it works because we've made it, we've believed it does happen, then what else can we achieve? What else can we achieve?
I have to move to the next. I have to move to the next comments. So can I just finish? Don't cut off. Just finish. Come on, Michael.
No,
Just finish.
finished. Oh, no, I finished. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, let me go to Sister Myra first. Sister Myra?
Right. So I'm just going to explain my thoughts on this paragraphs in this context. So I think he's just saying in the first one, he's saying, well, not everything is physical, but just because not all the processes are physical doesn't mean that they're not matter. And I think he's again adding to the argument from the two previous paragraphs. So he's saying, so he gives an example of light traveling onto the eye, the whole mechanism of how we see. And he's telling the idealists, well, if you cannot sense the rays of light as they hit your eyes, but you still see, are we going to say that that sensation doesn't exist, or that doesn't exist? It does, just because you may not sense it as the idealists were putting it. And then the second paragraph, I like how he says, we cannot choose whether to see or not, which is true, because if I'm in the vicinity of people having a conversation, I will hear. I cannot just turn off my hearing and choose not to hear. I have to move away a distance. While I think the idealists think, they can choose what they hear, they can choose their reality, and if it forms that perception in their minds, then it exists to them. If it doesn't, if they choose not to form that perception in their mind, then it doesn't exist. And then the sentence that says, if spirit or consciousness were completely independent of matter for its arising, there should be the possibility of such breakdowns in the perceptions as are not completely explicable in terms of physiology or physics. So he's saying if there are certain things that don't arise from matter, then, well, and the idealists are trying to explain them away as spirits. Then he says we probably need people that can see or read these spirits to explain. But I think what he's trying to say, that everything in whatever form emanates from matter. And then just one last point, I kind of wanted to add a small antidote to the use of the term dark ages. Someone commented on Nkrumah having wrote this book about 60 years ago, and I was completely in awe just this week when I was watching a video, and in this video, this idealist said, in very correct English with his full chest, he said that if you do not see your neighbor coming home with a bag of groceries being the shopping you do for food from the market, from the supermarket, then he does not exist. And he said that the perceiver is the only mind that exists in the whole world, so you can make up anything you want. So I'm giving this example to say that, yes, that's how in the Dark Ages they might have thought, but I think they brought it now into 2024, and we're still fighting the same way of thinking, the same idealists. Because if you can say you have never seen someone with a shopping bag, therefore they don't exist, what more perfect example do you need for idealism in 2024? So they're still the same. And I think if we understand that and the way they think, it will be a good way for also us to understand how we can liberate ourselves, because it's really amazing how Dr. Nkrumah foresaw and really understood their way of thinking, which is not in the past, still the same. I yield.
Thank you. I'll have to go to those who have been spoken. I know the people whose hand have been up, like Brother Pichu, but I'll come back to you. Let me get the thinking of other people who have been also spoken here. And I'll also, at this particular moment, highlight, based on the previous reading, that matter is not only the physical. It's not only, we talk sometimes about both concrete and abstract. So when we refer to matter, it doesn't mean anything tangible. In any form, matter can exist in any other different form, the same way something can exist in solid, liquid, or vapor form. That doesn't still make the aspect of them being matter away. They are still matter in any different forms through what we call categorical conversion. They still matter in different states of existence. And therefore, when we refer to matter in this particular moment, we don't talk of only tangible or physical thing being matter. Any other things can be matter, but in different states. So permit me to get to Sister Marie, who hasn't also spoken, and her hand is back. Marie, and can you try to speak to the paragraph as you try also to maybe try to put the thinking here maybe to practical reality. Sister Mary or Mary.
When Myra said something about the existence of something because you haven't seen it, and it just threw up one of my when I was at undergraduate, one of my favorite philosophers, Popper, who said that just because all swans are white doesn't mean to say that there are black ones, or so I interpreted his saying. But this thing about matter, can you touch matter? Can you weigh it? Or does it come in both forms? That's the question to the chair.
Thank you. But as I've said, that matter exists in any form, not only in physical. They exist as basically it's being anything that occupies space. So it doesn't mean that if you get into a room and there's no seat there, it doesn't mean there's nothing that occupies that space. There's something that occupies that space, and therefore that is matter in a different form. So when you talk of matter here, it's not anything that has a kilogram you can weigh, or some can be weighed based on unless the physicians here can either explain to this context of matter, what does it mean? But to my understanding and based on our previous reading, matter is not only the physical. It can exist in any other state through what you call the categorical conversion.
Okay, all right. But who determines that? Whose perception is that?
Interesting. Whose perception is the existence of matter? Brother Carrington?
That's a good question, sister.
I yield. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a very good question. In physics, there is normally this ghost, especially in the special and general theories of relativity and quantum mechanics, called the observer. The observer is a very interesting character in physics, and they play different roles. The observer is simply meant, and it is not necessarily true that an observer ought to be somebody who is conscious or even human. An observer is an object or a person or an agent that can take physical measurements. And for you to take physical measurements, you need to have physical instruments. And therefore, for you to have physical instruments, to take physical measurements using physical instruments, you need to have physical effects. So my understanding of the reading of conscience, the book, the chapter up to now, is that this is what Kwame Nkrumah is referring to when he calls matter. And primordial matter is not necessarily the same thing as soil or the same thing as a rock. Primordial matter could be something very, very, very well beyond our understanding as it is currently, but something that can be described entirely by physical processes, i.e. processes of interaction and exchange of energy and configuration with other objects in the universe. So this is what Kwame Nkrumah is referring to when he talks about materialism. The universe is made up of matter, is this idea that is this definition of matter. So in this form, energy is a form of matter. Interestingly, why? First, we know that we have the very famous equation of E is equals to mc squared. Energy and matter, physical sort of tangible matter, can be interconverted into each other. And more so, energy is a property of matter, vibrational property of matter, interactional property of matter. We talk about kinetic energy, electrical energy, chemical energy. All these are properties of matter. And therefore, energy in this very abstract sense is something that interacts with matter and has physical effects on matter and vice versa. So it requires a generalization of the sort of everyday definition of matter. And the person who determines this is the person who has physical instruments who can measure the physical properties of these things. So remember, we do not see the wind. We cannot weigh the wind, but the wind nonetheless is a physical object and whose physical manifestations is very well understood. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would disagree with that. I'm very sorry, but again, I think what I have
posted... me to go in order, Brother Pichu. If you don't allow me to go in order of those whose hands are up, then you may not have a conversation. Because I've said here is not a debate of argument, but it's rather you presenting your thinking, as some other person also present their thinking. So it's not like a tug of war between competition of ideas, but rather you presenting what you think.
Competition of ideas is what is facts now. That's the thing. Okay, sorry.
Okay, can you present what you think is fact?
But this is what I've said. What I have put on the message is not my idea or perspective. It's what it is fact today, as we speak.
Who justify that fact?
Wait, what is non-matter?
Sorry?
Is non-matter physics?
Okay, all I'm saying is this. All I'm saying, you have matter and non-matter, but you have dark matter and dark energy. Anyway, the only thing I wanted to do earlier in 1 minute, if you give me 1 minute, is that the brother, the comrade Michael spoke about the speed of light. Interesting. I like order and balance as well. So I agree with a lot of things that he said. Well, today you have many people, many experts would argue that the speed of light isn't necessarily the only speed that we should be, measure, because the speed of darkness might be way faster as well, But anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are free actually to share our thinking, but as long as your thinking can be justified. And when you say, for example, it's a great fact,
it's not my thinking. It is not my thinking. It is fact of today. This is what I'm saying. Whatever I've said, it is not my thinking or perspective. It is what is fact today, as we know today. And I have nothing against what was then, because that what was then was the knowledge of then, and nothing is new under the sun. We are the first scientists, the first mathematics, the first of everything. Okay. And so also nothing stays the same. The only thing that is constant, it is changed, and that's what we know today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Pichu. But you actually make it appear like the physicists who are studying physics today are referring to physics of the old tradition, and therefore what they're trying to put today to you is not fact.
No, but what I'm saying is that there is a misunderstanding and overstanding of how it is presented, because you have matter and you have non-matter. You have primordial matter. Hold on, sorry, 1 minute, 1 minute, please.
Let's go through. What is non-matter?
Give me 1 minute, please. Give me 1 minute, please. Thank you. You have matter and you have non-matter. You have dark matter. You have dark energy. And then you have primordial matter, and you also have primary energy. Every single thing is energy, as we know today, and energy can exist without matter, as we know today.
What is matter to you? What is matter to you in this context?
Well, not to me. I'm not. This is what I'm saying. This subject cannot be classed as ideology or perception. It has to be about fact. Because if we speak on physical level, 1 minute, please. If you give me 1 minute, please. We have to speak on what the science of today know, what the experts agree today. It's not about what he thinks, what he thinks, no. It's about overall what the general experts of the world agree to be the fact of today.
Are you an expert?
That's very different. I'm a musician. Put it this
so
way.
You're not an expert.
So I would just say that, and that's one of my. I'm an artist.
So when you're an artist,
all right, I'm an artist, and I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a lifelong learner, artist, scientist, and musician. And a musician is one of the best, the experts of science. a musician. But anyway, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's proceed. So let me get to welcome, brother Kwame. I'll ask you to help me check this.
Yeah, can I come in there?
Please come in.
May I advise? But
Your audio is not correct. Your audio is not correct.
But you can't hear me.
No, your audio is not that proper.
You cannot hear me at all.
We can hear you, but in very low audio. It's like this what can I say? Some soprano a bit, a soprano or something like that.
Okay, all right. I will come back.
Okay. So let's proceed. Brother Joseph Antoine, you haven't spoken. Please come in.
Yes, the last contribution by Brother Pichu, he said about facts, but we need to ask ourselves, what is facts? What are facts? And as far as I understand, facts are a product of social construction, because there had to be an agreement, and in the end.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Facts are agreement with experts of today. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, please.
Allow him proceed.
Yeah, but you see, experts, that's where we had the problem. Because my contribution was going to be include the challenging people to think about, could a blind man see? Based on the paragraph we read, could a blind man see? And when a blind man says, I see what you say, I mean, or else, why it is that even in dreams, objects do come across as solid, like you can lie on a bed, make love with your lover, or with a lover, a new lover. I mean, why it is that it is even in dreams comes across as solid. So I think part of the problem is that because life has been dichotomized, we have what is called spiritual and circular, this all the stuff that we've been encouraged, being schooled into. What if life was one, and then we have different ways of explaining life, rather than insisting that it is not this or not that. I think I even though the book might be 60 years old, I think I understand what Kwame was trying to get at. Because if we get lost in the idealist way of floating around, we wouldn't ever get anything done for the salvation of the future of Africa. And we need to really be able to manage those tendencies that still, compete in our minds, because don't forget again, the issue of language, the effect of language on us. What if we were not speaking English or French and was maybe an African language? Would it have been so, the effect on us so much that we have to insist that it has to be this way or that way, and rather than try to understand, and maybe, as the brother said, we agree on facts together, not experts telling us what we should perceive. I just thought I'd add that, because the composition is good, but again, and there are some places, there's some time when certain aspects need to be kept out of the fray so that greater clarity can be made, and we are trying to understand what it is we need to do, what is it required for us to help in the emancipation, the unification, and the development of Africa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Joseph. Let me remind members again, this was actually an ideology and philosophy to decolonize Africa, which means remove it from colonization, move it from that yoke of colonization to decolonize it. And the aspect, he presented it in a way that either the aim was to how does we apply this in order to decolonize our mind and decolonize it from what's already existing, what to him is a colonized mind. But let me proceed to members who haven't spoken because we still have some few minutes. Let me check first of all, Sister Pamela, Sister Shireen, and then Elder Glera is also here. So let me start with Sister Pamela. Sister Pamela?
Yes, I'm just listening as usual. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sister Shireen?
Greetings, everybody. Okay, thank you all for your contributions. In this extent, I'm going to speak about water. So I think someone's spoken about air. I'm going to speak about the transformation of water from solids to liquids to particles, to individual particles when there's precipitation or there's natural function of it from Earth to the atmosphere. And it is in this, for me anyway, in this aspect. Who's lit Pichu? Sorry.
Yes,
Is
my
that you
sister
talking about
Pichu.
me? Brother
Yes,
Pichu?
Pichu. Yes, yes, sister
Are you,
Pichu. Yes.
are you talking about my comment?
Sorry, excuse me.
Are you referring to my comment?
What do you mean? What is it? Sorry. What do
No,
you
you
mean?
left
What's
the
your
note.
comment?
No, I'm saying you left the note
I
in
left
the
a
chat.
note. No, I left a note to the previous elder probably to say that just the note was just to say that the whole point of it's not about disrespecting or not acknowledging our past elders, our past freedom fighters or or wise teachers. To the contrary, our duty is to actually respect what how far they have pushed their understanding and understanding at that time, but our duty is to actually push it further because science, technology, everything has let's say, I wouldn't say even improve because again nothing is new under the sun because like I said, we are the first, we are pyramids and I mean I'm from the Congo, we are the first civilization and science and maths and but what I'm trying to say is that there is more clarity, there is an improvement, there is evolution, there is that we can see clearer, let's say, about what and we can also explain even better.
Okay,
Or
so
maybe
do
we
you,
have more.
you're talking about a lot
Anyway,
of external stuff.
sorry.
Do you hear messages from the ancestors on a spiritual realm, or do you
My sister,
receive downloads from
sister,
I'm
I'm
just
a
asking a
Congo
question.
bongo man. A Congo bongo man. I do not want to talk too much. I Congo bongo man. I am a drum doctor. Congo bongo man. So I don't want to talk too much.
Are you in what country are you in at the minute?
I live in the UK, but I'm a Congo bongo man. I am a Congo bongo man. I'm a drum doctor. I do not want to talk too much. Thank you.
Pichu. Okay, Sister Sharon, kindly proceed.
I'll try. So the many facets of what we call water, and this is why my previous martial arts teacher said that we should be like water, forever transforming, forever changing shape, and forever being able to withstand the different terrain and the different climates, just forces that are around. And I'm just using that in the instance of this example. In regards to the physiological and physical conditions and how we can transform into the spiritual also. It isn't just the one. And that spirit and consciousness are intertwined. They cannot be separate, in my opinion. Yeah, and I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brother Kwame, are you in a position to speak now? Can you test your mic before I go to Brother Gonza, then Brother Elder Glere? Brother Kwame?
Yeah, let me know if you can hear me okay.
No, now you're clear. You can proceed.
Okay.
And you can get moving forward.
Yeah, so we are discussing what is on the screen.
Yeah, we've been discussing these two paragraphs on the screen. We
okay.
just typed.
All right. So the part I had was the Carrington's explanation and Pichu's disagreement, or what seemed like his disagreement with Carrington's explanation. But Carrington is a physicist. Pichu is not. But Pichu is telling us, sorry, hold on.
As you
I said, hold on. I said, hold on. So there's an announcement in the background. I don't want that to filter into the record.
Okay. So let's wait for Brother Kwame. He's still on transit, so he's trying to join us as you have said. Yes.
Yeah. So from what I heard, Brother Carrington was explaining the physics, and Brother Picho is disagreeing with the physics. But Brother Carrington is a physicist. Brother Picho is not, and yet Brother Picho is telling us.
No, Brother Picho said he's an artist. He's a musician.
Yeah, I heard him. And I'm saying he's not a physicist. And yet he's telling us, this class, that we must accept his explanation. And I'm having difficulty with that position.
Once again, it's not my ID. Like I say, what I put in the message, it was not from me.
But brother, I didn't see what message you put on there. If you can re-put it again, so I can also see. The other thing also,
it's still there.
I think it's there, but I can't see it because I just arrived. It would have been there. Anything you put before I arrive, I will not see. Yeah, so you need to re-put it in the chat so I can see. The other thing is that I want to Brother Pichu to understand that, and I think Brother Pigeon, you made that very clear. This is not about arguing with. It's not. We are not here to argue with each other. We are here to support each other and to learn from each other. The philosophy club of Kwame Nkrumah and what we are doing here is educational. Conscientism at heart is rooted in physics, and as we'll see later when we get to chapter 4. So it's rooted in the theory of physics to a large extent. And the reason I think I've explained before is that the previous view of matter, the atomic view, which leads to the idea that to be selfish was good, that individuals can be higher than society, and that there's no such thing as society, that we as Africans do not accept that view. And so the alternative view, which we haven't come across yet, it will come later, which is called the wave particle theory of light. That is the beginning of the physics that expresses the African position, which is that we believe that we are foremost social. We are social beings. Yes, we are individuals.
If you see something that doesn't look right, report it to a member of staff or text the British.
Okay, Brother Kwame will have to excuse. Yes, come. Okay.
So as I was saying, that we are social beings. Yes, we are individuals, we are social beings. So that physics is what expresses our position. Now, the explanation that Carrington gave is spot on. That is the physics as far as I understand it. If Brother Pichu is saying that he has an alternative physics, that remains to be seen. But can I explain one thing? Because conscientism is based on physics, what it means is that our position philosophically will evolve as physics evolves. So our position is not static. So the physics of Isaac Newton, it's not the physics that is the basis of conscientism today. And if physics comes up with new theories, new understandings of nature, that will be incorporated into conscientism. So I just want to say that so Brother Pichu should not be under the impression that if he has found some new physics, that somehow that new physics will not be amenable to conscientism. It will be. Yeah. So I thought I should make that very, very clear. But everything that Brother Carrington has said, I accept. Now, Pichu says there's something called non-matter. What is that? What Pichu, what is non-matter?
Oh, hi. I can talk. Oh, okay.
Yeah, what is non-matter?
Well, non-matter. This is okay. No, what is non-matter? I don't know. You know,
Yes.
I have to answer
You said there
questions.
is matter and non-matter.
I mean, I don't know. Well, listen. Here it says. Okay, let me put you in. Let me hold on. Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Are you quoting from a document? In that case, share it with us. Because I don't know of anything called non-matter. There's no such thing as non-matter. So if you are saying there's such a thing as non-matter, please tell us what it is. Brother Pigeon, I will hand over back to you so he finds it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to let you know, we got a new nuclear physicist also who has been invited by Brother Carrington here, a sister.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you.
Excellent.
So let's proceed to other members who haven't contributed. Brother Kwame Gonza, as we wait for Brother Pichu to give us his contribution in regards to the answer of what is a non-matter. So Brother Kwame Gonza, what is your thinking or what you like to share with us based on the articles here and the conversation that have been going on, based on the 2 paragraphs? What's the understanding?
So I agree with the Sister Sherin when I was listening to her, what she said about being fluid like water. So from my understanding too, with this back and forth that Nkrumah is trying to, to sift and show us, I think he's just trying to let us know that we should not be static in our thinking, and we should approach things from from a flexible point, so that we can be able to deal with these problems as they arise. I remember I was reading the political and social thought of Kwame, which was written by Amabaine in 2011. And Nkrumah was dealing with the problem in the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. I had the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So this Minister of Foreign Affairs, he thought that it was not responding as fast as he wanted. Then he set up a Bureau of African Affairs, so that he can be able to control the Bureau of African Affairs directly from the president's office and get this thing running quickly, so that information can easily flow to Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, and then through the bureau, and then back to his office, because he wanted to solve this problem way back in 1961. So, and when you read that book, you can see that while the imperialists were adjusting their strategies in the Congo to try to defeat him as he was, trying to fight, he was also constantly adjusting how he's approaching this problem. So I think that in his way of explaining these particular concepts, matter and spirit and the idealism, he's trying to show us that we should be flexible in our approach when we are trying to solve our problems as Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've seen some chats on the chat, but I'll also react to something. I've seen an explanation that what is abstract is as an explanation of a non-matter. But I think this goes back to our basic organization and our basic understanding before. When the question was between what is a sole reality and what is a primary reality, when you talk of a sole reality, it means that that is the only reality. While consciousness did not say that matter is a sole reality, which means it's the only reality, consciousness then approached it by saying matter is a primary reality. And that meant that it is not the only existence, but it is the source of existence. And therefore, other existence, which means in the argument of spirit or spirit and matter, is that spirit can still be an existence, but not as a primary object, but as another form of a primary object, which then led us to our previous discussion on what is what you call categorical conversion, existence of matter in various states. So whatever you call abstract is still matter in a different state and not a non-matter. And this is a very important thing that we ought to have understand in order to actually build our understanding, so that we know that what you are arguing as non-matter or matter is still matter, but in a different state. The same way we say it is still water, even when it is a vapor, it's still water. It's not that when it moves to vapor, it's no longer water. It's water in a different state. And this then takes us back to what you said before. We need to understand our previous understanding or our previous classes when we were talking of derivatives and categorical conversion. So
yes, so the way you have to
can I answer your question?
No, hold on, Pichu. Hold on, Pichu. Can you hold on? This is not your class, please. Hold on, please. Thank you. So the terminology to use, Brother Pigeon, is that yes, matter is the primary category, but it's our position, consensusism, and that's what the book explains, is that there are different categories of matter. And then that is the terminology you are looking for. There are different categories of matter, and all the categories of matter arise through categorical conversion from the primary matter. And I think you have explained that we have never said, and Nkrumah has never said, it's not our position, even as Africans, that matter is the sole reality. Matter is not the sole reality. And the reason matter is not the sole reality, as you've explained, Brother Pigeon, I'm just adding to what you said, is that there is something called energy. There is something called mind. There is something called brain. There is something called emotion. There is something called songs. There is something called voice or singing. There is something called music. These are all different categories of matter. Okay, and that is our position. We are not saying that it's a matter is a sole reality. Of course, there are materialists who take that position, but that is not our position. So if you are saying that what you mean by non-matter is the abstract, what is abstract? That which is abstract is just another category of matter. So Pichu, this is our position. And I want you to understand this is our position. And this class is not an idealist class. Energy is matter, or you can say it's a category of matter. And Brother Carrington has explained, and you yourself share that formula with us. E equals mc squared. I don't understand why you keep emphasizing only the E. And then you keep going on about the E, the energy, and then you forget the mass and the speed of light. As far as I understand, there is nothing faster in the universe than the speed of light and the speed of light.
Okay. I don't like people to talk for me. Can I talk for myself?
I am not talking for you. I am explaining to you our position. And please,
okay, can I answer your question?
Hold on. Yeah, we don't want you to come here and be arguing.
Mon frère,
we want to hear your views. Brother,
I am not arguing at all.
We want to hear your view.
Okay.
Yeah, but hear me. Hear me now. All right, hear me. Thank you very much. The rope has not transported any mass, but it still carries momentum through its waving motion. In this way, waves can have no mass, but still carry momentum. In addition to being a particle, light is also a wave. This allows it to carry momentum and therefore energy without having mass. And so what I put early on, I say, everything that has mass and takes up space is matter. Every day you encounter phenomena that either don't have mass or don't take up space. They are non-matter. Basically, any type of energy or any abstract concept is an example of something that is not matter. That's all I'm saying. Okay, one minute. I haven't finished 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. I have not finished. 1 minute, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're talking about now the primary, like you said, when Kwame Nkrumah said, we agree that matter is not the only thing out there. Is not the So basically,
No,
there are
soul reality.
limitations.
Soul reality. The term is
Okay,
soul
it's not
reality.
exactly
No,
that.
it's not the soul reality. That's how we say it. It's not the soul reality.
Yes.
That's how
So
we put it.
Yes, so that means it's not everything. So yes, energy and matter intertwined. Yes. Fine. Hold on, please. Please give me 1 minute, and then I can shut up, and then I can let you talk. So you're cutting me right now.
We
and I
say
can't
it
hear
is
you.
not
You're
the
cutting
soul
up.
reality. That's how we put it.
Okay, fine. I am saying it's not everything. It's not the primary. You have primary.
We have
energy.
never said that, Brother Pichu. Let's be clear. We say,
please give me 1
Brother
minute.
Pichu, we
I
say
said
that
what
it is
I am
not
saying.
the
I didn't say
soul
you
reality.
saying. I'm saying I am
That's
saying.
how we put it.
Fine. I am
So please,
saying. I am.
no, state it the way we do, because what you are saying is not
No,
what we
I'm
are saying.
saying what I'm saying right now. I'm not saying what you're saying. I'm saying what I'm saying.
Remember, that's not what we are saying.
But you give
We
me
say
1
that
minute.
matter
You're not giving
is
me
not
1
the
minute.
soul
1 minute
reality.
has passed already.
We are
and
not
you're
saying it's
cutting
not
me.
everything.
I
We are
let
saying
you
it
talk,
is
but
not
you don't
the
let
soul
me
reality.
talk. Though.
Thank you.
I let you talk. You don't let me talk, and I just ask for 1 minute. That's it.
Brother Pichu, permit me to remind you that. Permit me to remind you that, Brother Pichu. I'll allow you to speak. Permit me to remind you that we have had this discussion before, and if you want to,
no, not like that. Please.
No, let me tell you this.
Please.
We
I
want
have
to remember discussion,
and I'm
which has
trying to
already
explain
passed.
myself, and now you're cutting me, and I'm saying give me 1
No,
minute, and
no. Let me tell you one thing.
And like
You're
it's
not.
been 3 minutes now. That's not communication. That's not
No.
communication.
I want to give you
I
communication.
allowed you to speak. Allow me 1 minute.
I can stop you.
Thank you very much.
I
And
can
then
stop
I will shut up. Allow me 1 minute, and I will shut up. Allow me 1 minute, and I
I'll
will
stop
shut up.
you. I'll stop you if you don't listen to me.
Thank you.
I'll stop you if you don't listen to me.
Thank you. So,
Pichu, the class is not for you. If the moderator tells you should first wait, why don't you want to?
I'll stop you if you don't listen to me.
And then now I'm talking.
Allow him 1 minute, please.
No, the class is not for you. You can't be speaking.
Allow him 1 minute.
Okay.
I have allowed them to speak, and now I have my minute, and they cut me in my minute. That doesn't make sense.
Allow him 1 minute, and then he shuts up.
Brother Pichu, I'm the one who should give you 1 minute. So you don't tell me that I'm taking your 1 minute.
Yes, give him 1 minute, please.
No.
Yes,
what I want you to do is simple. So get my instruction. Get my instruction. I want you to speak, but permit me to give you that minute with good reference to what I'm saying. And it's very important that you understand what I explained.
I've heard you guys,
Your
and
confusion will make sense.
it's not like I'm disagreeing with you. I've heard you, Okay, go on.
So if I have to give you the information, because I've heard what you're saying, but I want to remind you what took place so that you don't speak what actually we have done before. Because I've heard your conversation. But as you proposed, I'll give you exactly a minute and speak your mind on a minute.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I can speak now. Thank you very much. Okay. So again, you have the speed of light. You also have the speed of darkness that is very much unknown at the moment. But experts of today are arguing that, that the speed of darkness may be even faster than the speed of light that we know today. Anyway, that's one thing. We have dark matter. We also have dark energy. And, and we have primary, energy. We have also primary matter. Yes, energy and matter intertwine. Yes, fine. But energy and matter, anyway, to me personally, everything is energy. So far, what we know now, but I do understand the primary matter. I do understand, it's it's not the soul reality. I do understand all that. Like I said, I am a musician and I'm a Congo bongo man. I play the drums. I create energy, through matter. So I know, I feel, all that I know. But anyway, thank you so much. 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me go to Brother Elder Glory hasn't spoken. I think Brother Kwame Gonza spoke. And if there's anybody I'm missing, Brother DJ Mr. P said that he may not be able to speak because of his condition currently. But let me get to Elder Glory. We've been discussing these two paragraphs on the screen. So sometimes don't be carried the conversation or the discussion, but you can speak to the paragraphs on the screen. If you like to contribute to the conversation, well and good.
I hear you, but I joined late, and I think the conversation is the thing that I think is what I'm able to respond to. And I simply want to say that it's clear that everyone agrees that none of this information is in stone, that these are growing position, discoveries are being made, and different views may well occur. So I think what we're doing, or what we should be doing, is being very clear on our thinking, and why is it that we feel that the current status or the current information will at some point change, because science tend to do that. And that's fine. I would want to hear more about all of these issues that are brought up. It appears to be a new issue in regard to the speed of darkness, and I dare say the whole issue about non-matter is something we will hear further about. So I certainly would want to be part of that conversation. Other than that, I'm like Sister Pamela, I'm listening, and I hope to be learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to Brother Coco, and then I'll go to Sally, who is a nuclear physicist also with us. Brother Coco, before Sally speaks.
So I had contributed already, but I agree with a lot of things the other speakers have said, but I'm not obliged to agree with any of those. What I'm raising my hand here for is procedure. We Africans, at our essence, we give each other chance, and our democracy was that democracy of we had to have consensus. It was consensus based. If one of us wasn't happy, then we gave them that chance. Then the European-based system is a system of domination. My brother Pishu, you need to listen to me and listen carefully. Here is not about domination. It's not about being right. Okay? We need to get away from that mentality.
I'm not dominating nothing, my brother. I don't know why you're telling me.
You listen to me and listen to me carefully. I know.
To me. Not about the
You're very humble.
Anybody
I am
here.
very
Thank
humble.
you.
So you see where the problem is. I'm talking right now, and by
You're
interrupting
talking to me because you said my name, and I'm not dominating nobody. I'm saying something. Thank you.
Brother Pichu, can you allow him to contribute?
Consensus. We all sit in a
Let's
cycle,
keep my name away from that in that case.
and we discuss issues. We discuss whatever we have, whatever we don't agree with, or whatever we agree with. We all share, and everyone gets a chance to share and have their share. And the system of conscientism is that everyone gets in here, they share what they want to share. And that is Ubuntu. We all get to share. It's a direct system of democracy where everyone can raise their hand and say what they want to say without anybody interrupting them.
I doubt that because I've been interrupted many times. Thank you.
So you see, he continues doing it, and he needs to understand that.
No, I am real. I've been real. That's very different. I'm being very real here. It's very
Brother
different.
Coco, let me just finish what you're saying, because even him is now interrupting you, which he claimed that is being interrupted. But proceed.
Yes, I'm not interrupting him. I'm talking. I'm correcting what he's saying because what he's saying is not true.
Okay.
I've not been allowed to.
Sorry. Can I come in here? I want everyone to understand. I am the chair of consensusism. Brother Pigeon assists me. When I am here, I am the chair. Okay, I want that to be clear so everyone understands that. When I speak, I'm not interrupting anybody. I speak as chair. Okay, the only other person who can also speak is our resident physicist, who is Brother Carrington. If there is any error in the physics, he has a right to interrupt and correct it. Apart from that, all of us here must respect one another, and we should not be interrupting one another. But when I speak, I am not speaking as an interrupter. Pichu, I am the chair of the consensusism. When I speak as chair. I want you to understand that. So don't call me an interrupter. Now you are still interrupting.
Because you're not doing it properly, and I have to tell you that. Thank you.
Now I want you to remember we there are mechanisms that we can use, but we have not used them. Okay, right? So anyway, I just want that to be clear.
Okay, thank you.
Brother Pigeon, back to
Thank
you. And
yeah, thank you. I think that Brother Coco, can you finish?
No, I'm okay, my brother. I think
Okay,
my
thank you.
message has been
Okay,
passed.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye
I
bye.
want to highlight one thing. If you see in Nkrumah's text, he has not actually avoided contradiction, and he has brought contrary opinion and countered them properly. If you see even what you are reading, when Nkrumah talks of materialism, he has kept on inviting idealism and try to counter their what so-called fact by what he thinks is fact. And in this way, you have a constructive conclusion. And therefore, in any of our thinking here, we must embrace what Nkrumah says and what he does here. He goes to highlight one side, then bring a counter to that side without actually, is more of being scientific and asking some logical questions. If you claim this is it, how about this? And that is how a debate and discussion takes place, not a matter of defending one side without a proper counter of it or a proper justification. This is what you're trying to build. But let me get to Sister Sally, who is the, of course, nuclear physicist here, to maybe highlight some of the few things she thinks wasn't either right in terms of their physics field or anything else she wants to contribute. Sister Sally?
All right, thank you. I think for me, it's just a bit of clarity. I do agree with the physics itself, as Carrington put it out very clearly. But I want to state that we are aware that there are different experts from different fields who define matter differently. So we are not arguing about that. We're trying to work into the definition of matter in the context of the passage that we've just read. And the definition of that, of this matter that is recorded here is as what Carrington has previously said. So let's just keep in context so that we avoid different sort of interpretations, and they're there. So essentially, I wanted to bring across that experts in each field are the people who have the most objective opinion. And essentially, we call an objective opinion an expert opinion. So every other opinion is subjective. And essentially, we're not saying that objective opinions cannot change, but a physics objective opinion only changes after validation. So, and validation here comes by a lot of peer review processes where other scientists also review your work and say if the science is correct. So essentially, we don't just change facts from just an opinion base. You must come up with data that also is validatable or repeatable by other scientists as well. So just for clarity. And then, so to someone who asks, can the blind man see? In physics, we say yes. A blind man can see because sight here is not what the eye is seeing, an eye, a physical eye, but sight is essentially perception from what we feel essentially by all our sense organs, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. And the skin here, the nervous system. So essentially, if you have that, then essentially you can see. So for a physicist, for example, to see would mean using the electromagnetic spectrum. So we are not again talking of the visible light. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to see something visible, because the thing that you see with your eyes is what is under the visible light spectrum. We are talking of all the way from radio waves to microwaves to the infrared to visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, and gamma rays. And essentially, across all this, if we can sense using some instrument, then this is matter and this is visible. So thank you.
As we have 4 minutes to end, or to come to the end of our class today, permit me to say that.
I was not seeing the rising hand. For me to raise the hand, I wanted to ask Isali a question, please.
Okay, but we have 3 minutes to go. Just be cautious of that.
Okay. So Sally, if if matter and energy are not the same, and yet from we can convert matter to energy, then where do we from here? How do we conclude, and from which position do we conclude that matter is not the same as energy?
Okay. Before she comes in, let me give the context of when energy was discussed here before, because we have come across this topic of energy, and when energy was being discussed here, it was compared to mass, not matter to energy. It was compared to mass to energy. And one thing I also like to highlight here is that previously we arrived at a position that it is not that matter is different in either form you call it with energy. You cannot compare matter to energy, because to the basis of understanding here, energy is just another form of matter. It's not that it is different, but the existence of matter in different states. And this was the aspect that, and I think that's where the difference comes in. We are judging matter, as Nkrumah talked about it here, in the terms that matter is anything that occupies space. But that is not what Nkrumah is trying to bring out here. Nkrumah at this particular moment recognizes matter not as anything that occupies space and has mass or weight or whatever. Nkrumah recognizes matter as something that can take any different form. It can be abstract or concrete. It can have mass or not having mass. And if it cannot have mass, as you are saying, either in the form of like mind, or whether you call it energy and the rest, it is a matter in a different state. For example, I've said clearly, whenever a solid substance, it has weight. It's a matter, it has weight. But when you move to vapor, you cannot still put that weight of a vapor, but it's still matter that has transformed in another category. So that doesn't make it no longer matter because now it's a vapor. It is still matter in a state of vapor that originates from something. So if we really understand that the matter we are talking about here is not basically the traditional understanding that it must have weight and occupy space. It's anything that can exist in any format. It cannot have sometimes weight, like a mind or a thinking. It cannot sometimes have weight, but that will not take away its aspect of matter in a different category. So that's very important understanding here, so that you don't argue matter on a
excellent. Yeah, can I add that to what you said? To say that for us, space itself is matter. That's why you are right. Space itself is matter. And Carrington has explained that the universe is not expanding into anything else. It is expanding into itself. I think he explained that very clearly the last time. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you. So we are actually at the end of our class. As you know, we've come across what we call dialectics, and we've been explaining dialectics. Is this opposite or opposition of movements? And it's very important that we actually embrace that opposition of movements or thinking, but with a vision to arrive at some objective conclusion, not subjective conclusion. Objective conclusion, as Sister Thalia said. So we are coming to the end of this, and this last paragraph, I've left it here, that will be a rejoinder to our next class, which actually says that our universe is a natural universe, and its basis is matter with its objective laws.
Yeah, but hold on, before we finish, I'd like to raise a question, but we can't answer it now. But Sister Sally may come back and answer it when she comes back next time, which is, Brother Pichu has shared with us something called the speed of darkness. And Brother Sister Sally has explained that it doesn't follow that it has been validated or something like that. So I'd like Sister Sally to come back and let us know. As far as I know, the speed of light has been validated, and there's nothing faster than the speed of light. If there's something faster than the speed of light, I'd like to know from her the physics of that and whether that has been validated, or whether that is just somebody's view that Brother Pichu has picked up and has come here to share with us. And also, I'd like Brother Pichu to give us the source of his quote in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So, Brother Kwame, we are listening to you. Okay. So let me say that then this is the end of our class. Then we have two things to pick up in the next class. Actually, an explanation on the speed of darkness and also maybe quantify some of the position that Brother Pichu has been putting forth, but we'll also discuss heavily or how to look at this last sentence, because this becomes the last of our conversation. This is like a conclusion of what we've been doing in this chapter, which is our universe is the natural universe. So we'll have to have this rejoinder in our next class, because already 2 minutes past our time. I know hands have been up. Brother Kwame Gonza's hand was up and Michael's hand was up. I'm afraid that I may not be able to pick them now. But kindly join our next class, because the conversation doesn't stop. We still continue from where we pick it. So apologies for that, but let's actually come next class and raise them. We'll do a rejoinder before we move to the next chapter. Thank you very much for your attendance and for your participation.
Okay, thank you.